We are recording.
Okay.
Folks, this is a follow-up to my previous video where I discussed the psychological possession of the Dark Mother, naming it Cybele in particular, although there's lots of different names that this goddess can go by. And I've been lucky enough to be introduced to this man here, Benjamin. Um, well,
Hello.
could you introduce yourself? Because this guy
Sure,
knows
no
what he's
problem.
talking about.
My name is Benjamin Marino. You can call me Ben. I've been I've been in Freemasonry for about 25 years, and I'm a past master of the craft. A lot of my research and my studies revolve around Sybil, and I'm currently investigating. Basically, I'm investigating Sanskrit in Linear B, which is supposed to be a Greek language. And I was brought there by Sybil. Sybil is the one who led me there, researching her.
And now, you didn't originally have a background in this. You're more technology oriented with your formal education, but
That's correct.
you said to me there's overlap.
The overlaps in geometry because I'm in 3D printing, and I was an MIS major in college, so I work with data and I work with geometry. Both two things that help when working with Sybil.
Uh, Absolutely. Like there's some stuff I might just mention this later, but with uh, Pythagorean tuning on instruments that I think is very related to all of this too. All of the original mystery schools were like most of them were mathematical in nature.
Well, I would agree with you, and I would agree that it's even further than that. To me, it seems to all revolve around sound and language. That's why when you think of something that's Masonic, I think of it as like Mother Sonic, like Masonic.
So, what got you interested in? Actually, let's rewind. Could you tell the audience who is Sybil? What is Sybil? Why should they
Well,
care?
yeah. So if we've got about 3 hours, I could tell you everything. But yes, Sybil is the Great Mother. She is basically synonymous with Magna Mater. Throughout all of Western civilization, she tends to be conflated with other goddesses, and that's I tend to think because Sybil is really the undercurrent behind all mother goddesses, whether it's Rhea or Demeter, whoever it is. Um, Sybil is the foundation behind it. Now, I don't know the origins of Sybil. I think none of us do. That's what we're all looking for.
Like we've got
Um,
from what I understand, very little information coming like Rome 200 BC. Um,
right, right. And now, if you notice again, when I say that I connect it all to sound and language, are you familiar with what a sibilant is?
um, Almost.
Okay, okay,
I knew once, but
okay.
please
So
continue.
basically, a sibilant is like the sound of an S, like it's a serpent sound. And this fits with Sybil. And you'll notice that although no one wants to discuss it or document it, the Latin word sibilare, uh, came to Rome and was first started using in Rome about the same time that Sybil came from Phrygia.
That is interesting. So, do you think it like do you think that Sybil? Well, have you dug into any of Proto-Indo-European connections with the word?
I have, and so it's funny that you ask about Proto-Indo-European, and I can get into that
Actually,
a lot.
let me give a quick explanation for my audience.
Okay,
So, Proto-Indo-European, it's an approximation of the original language that led to the Indo-European language family. And the way that it's constructed is words tend to change in a particular manner over time. Um, I forgot the details, but something with a hard K at the beginning will sometimes switch to an S. And so if we see two examples of similar words, but one has a hard K, we'll say that the K is the more archaic version of it. And so
Right.
using these techniques, they've reconstructed the ancient language of the Proto-Indo-European people, also known as the Aryan people, though that's not a popular term these days.
Right.
And
Right.
these are the ones that spread out east, west, and south from the Eurasian steppe, essentially.
That is the word on the street.
So, Cybele and Proto-Indo-European, what have you found there?
So it might disappoint you, but what I've come to learn, I think, and I still need people to look at it, but I've found Sanskrit in Linear B, and Linear B is supposed to be Greek. So at the end of the day, what I've kind of determined that Proto-Indo-European is a total imaginary language. There's never been an inscription found. It's 200 years old. The Nazis did use it as empire building, and then we just kind of absorbed it and started using it and forgot the Nazis used it for empire building.
Well, as I understand it, Pi would have never have had a written language. That's how ancient it supposedly is. But
Yeah, that's what they say. And unfortunately, what I found in Linear B are Greek words that match up almost one to one with Sanskrit words. So, like, I wrote a paper called "Comparing the Linear B tablets to Pi," or pitting them against one another. And in Linear B, the words mate and pate are there for mother and father. And if you look at the Sanskrit words for mother and father, they're mater and Peter. So all the stuff that Proto-Indo-European added actually isn't required at all. It's all right there. You can see in Linear B almost identical words for mother from Sanskrit and Greek.
So you're saying it's been an exercise in futility.
I am.
I'll bet you that makes you really popular.
Not exactly. Yeah, my articles don't exactly get a lot of love from the Proto-Indo-European community.
No, there's a lot of people heavily invested in that. A lot of people making careers off it.
Today it's attributed to a haplogroup, which is very very problematic because a lot of the rest of the world is looking at what Proto-Indo-European scholars are doing and saying, you can't just map a language to a haplogroup. And they're saying, well, we can do it. And the rest of the world saying, you're kind of crazy. And one thing I didn't even notice until I started doing this research is the amount of people from India that contact me, whether it's on Twitter or academia, just ecstatic that I'm doing this work because they all know that Proto-Indo-European is fake. So there's like 1.4 billion people in India that know Proto-Indo-European is fake, and we kind of just disregard them.
That's very interesting. And yeah, it's often you can use haplogroups. Linguistics and genetics are not tied one to one. It's
Right.
it's a useful starting position to come from, but it's not a one to one. It's just data.
Exactly.
So what got you so interested in? Actually, wait. Let's go back to the Linear A, Linear B. Could you explain a little bit about these? When did we discover them? When did we translate them? Where did they come from? When were they used?
Sure. So the time period goes all the way back to around 1400 BC. And we're talking about the dawn of Crete. Maybe not the dawn. We're talking about the end of Crete. Linear A was spoken in Crete, and Linear B was spoken in Mycenae. Now, the understanding is that the language changed at some point between 1400 and when the Mycenaeans got there. And I can tell you that that's simply that they phonemically reversed the language. Scholars have not been able to look at this yet, but essentially Linear B is Linear A phonemically reversed. So what that means is that there's this whole misunderstanding that we have because we can't figure it out. Um, but the guys who solved Linear B, Ventris and Chadwick, they solved it in 1956, I think. And you'll start to see, as you know, if you want to talk about the Linear B subject, that this all happened right after fresh out of World War II. So when we solved Linear B at the end of World War II, it froze the Proto-Indo-European paradigm. And that's why ever since everyone's kind of accepted Linear B to be Greek. Now, I'm not disagreeing. Linear B is indeed Greek. What I am saying is that what they don't realize is that Linear B wholly came from Sanskrit. So Greek wholly came from Sanskrit, in my opinion.
So, how did they solve Linear B? Like, was there a Rosetta Stone of some sort?
I don't know exactly how they solved it, but I know that the great mind that was really responsible for it was Dr. Alice Kober. And she kind of did all the handwork and assigning of the phonemes and all the research really involved to get a good understanding of how these phonemic languages were spoken, because they're all in a consonant vowel sequence. So you have letters. When I say letters, you have phonemes like pa, ma, sa, si. They're all framed in a consonant vowel structure. And when you frame language like that, you can read it in either direction.
Okay. And so, what approach are you taking with Linear A?
So I've actually been trying to solve linear A. And one of the things that I've been finding in linear A is that there's all this post Mahabharata language in there, about the Kuru descending. And the Kuru are basically the royal family that the Mahabharata was fought over. And that's the Indian epic.
Mm-hmm. And so you're making some progress with that.
I am making some good progress with it because I'm the only one. Well, I shouldn't say I'm the only one. There's a gentleman named I can't remember his name now, but I'll find it. But he's the first one to have found Sanskrit in Linear A, and I was finding it because I kept trying to solve Linear A, and I kept holding the words up against Greek and Hebrew and Latin. And I was doing it in a language model, and the language model kept coming back and saying, there's a Sanskrit word, there's a Sanskrit word. And I kept ignoring it like any other Western scholar. Just kept ignoring it, ignoring it. Eventually, it just built up to be so much. I was like, hold on, we got to go back and look because it looks like the entire corpus is Sanskrit.
Okay, that's
Yeah, it's a little bit
man,
of
that's
a
fascinating.
wild ride.
That
Yeah.
is very cool. Like they kind of reminds me. There's they I think they translated the what was that serial killer the Zodiac killer.
Yes.
Yeah, they used an AI. They finally translated his cryptography
Oh,
because
really?
because he was making typos was the problem.
Uh,
And
AI is unbelievable, to be honest with you. AI, if used correctly, can yield unbelievable discoveries.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but it's
Right.
absolutely crucial that the good guys use it. Like,
Yeah.
there's obvious horrors that could be done, but it's
Obvious. Yeah.
here, and if we don't use it, then only the horror people will use it.
Right. Right. And the world is going to be, unfortunately, defined by who's the noisiest.
Yeah, yeah, that's always been my philosophy. All right, so let's get back to Cybele.
Yes.
Was were these originally the same field of research, or were they two separate things for you?
So one led to the other. The whole reason I ultimately got to linear B, and I'll give you an example. When you talk about Sybil, one thing that kept bothering me over and over again was the amount of words that either rhymed with Sybil or could be an altercation or an alteration of the word Sybil, like the word sable.
Well,
Um,
look at the conversation the introduction we had, my friend that introduced us misspelled Cybele, and I listen. I do word etymologies too. I speak a little bit of Latin, so
Okay.
we won't like get into the details there. But it's like there are interesting reasons for that, and the fact
Yes.
that it was a Sibylline with an S. What do you call her? Cybele, not a prophet, a mystic?
Oracle.
Oracle, thank you. It was the
Right.
Sibylline oracle with an S that told Rome to accept the Cybelian cult
Right.
with a C.
Right. Now, I think you would agree, right? Like, there's more there that we're just taking for granted if we're going to walk away and go, oh, it's Sybil's no big thing. Like, there's a lot going on there that warrants a lot of people to look at it, but for some reason, nobody wants to look at it.
You know, I can understand if this comes across as just seeing patterns in the clouds. If you
Right.
actually study etymology, it's not. Like when you dig,
Exactly.
one of the big things I love to point out is there's this saying, nice guys finish last. Well,
Yes.
nice comes from ne scire, no science, no wisdom, happy-go-lucky fumbling idiot. Of course he's going
Right.
to finish last. Nice
Of
means
course.
you're stupid.
Yes, it does.
And it still contains that implication, even though we don't think of it as meaning stupid.
Right. That's important. We can change the meanings of words all we want, but I believe that they retain a value in sound.
There are patterns in there. There are
Yeah,
ones where there is no relationship,
I
right?
agree. Yeah, yeah,
And it just not everything that sounds the same is related, but
exactly right.
there's deep, meaningful connections behind all of this. And so, I don't know a lot about the Cybelian oracle, um, but it obviously feminine oracle. Um, it's coming from so there is something about that Cybelian word that is
Yes,
innately feminine.
absolutely. And it's also uniquely serpentine.
Yes.
So that in and of itself, combining those two things is where I wound up in linear B chasing the language, because one of the things that has always bothered me was the shift from the letter H, how the letter H evolved, how the letter S evolved from shin. There's a relationship there that we don't really understand from our current, um, what would you call it, cognitive linguistics or whatever.
How did they evolve?
So, as far as I can try to get my thoughts here, so the H kind of came out of nowhere from Egypt. There was I can't really remember the time at the moment, but there's a whole um, conflation between a whole bunch of letters. If you look at like where S came from, you can see all of its cousins and brothers, and there's this whole field of S, but there's this H hanging around the whole time, which is really, I want to say it's inseparable from S. Okay. And what happened was when we tried to separate it from S, um, it became kind of like a mess. And you can see that in our language with where H is. I tried to come up with this working theory. I called it like the H sibilant something, but there's this confusion with H that we don't seem to understand. And I just tend to think that it's more locked in with the S than we think it is.
From the original shin,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
sh.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the way you produce the sounds. A lot of this is, man, you're blowing my mind, and I'm having trouble asking you smart questions.
I understand.
All right, so When I did my video, I portrayed the Cybelian cult in an unflattering way, you
Yep,
might say.
and that's totally okay because it's not very flattering.
Okay. Um, can you speak to that at all? Like I could toss some ideas about. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Carl Jung, the collective unconscious. Uh, but where do you think that dark goddess comes from, and where is she? Why is she so fascinating for some?
So from the research that I've done, it seems to me that Cybele is a combination slash conflation of the Hindu goddess Vak, the goddess of speech, and the Hindu goddess Sita, who was Rama's husband or wife, if you will. Now, a lot of the reasons that I've come to those conclusions
Let
are
me
because of the
just check here. Rama was the if wasn't he the physical? Like, he wasn't like the Brahman is the over god, but Rama is like the king god. Like,
right.
so
He's like, I'm not sure if Rama's an avatar or not, but
he's like
he's one of
Zeus.
these, yeah, one of these like middle ground deities, I believe.
Okay. Anyway, keep. So this is. So she was his. Sorry, what were the two goddesses' names again?
So the two goddesses' names are Sita and Vak, Vak. Now, Vak is the goddess of speech, which is why I associate Cybele with her, because in Sanskrit there's three sacred sibilants, and they're used sparingly. And I believe when we kind of switched over and became Western civilization, um, part of part of my research includes the Golden Fleece, because I believe the Golden Fleece was a trick. It was a deceit, and the deceit was to take Prakrit, or maybe it was early Sanskrit, and invert it so that it became a empire tool of ritual precision. And when this happened, a lot of the words and the language was focused on this idea of a dark mother. So one of the reversals for mate um, comes out to something like darkness, or let me see here. It's
Just to make sure I'm keeping up here. This
yeah.
is sort of a phenomenon of playing the record backwards,
So it is, but
flipping the
it's
language
more than that,
backwards.
because Alice Kober, the one who decoded all this, is the one that was telling Michael Ventris, do not freeze the direction. If you freeze the direction of this language, you will freeze further knowledge and further learning and further studies. And that's exactly what they did. They froze it on Greek. But if you go back to her work, she will tell you that this language is meant to be read in both directions.
The
And
Enochian, which was the constructed or divined, based upon your opinion,
right.
language of the angels, developed by John Dee.
Yeah.
That one also read forwards and backwards.
Exactly. And any esoteric language that's worth its weight in salt should read bidirectionally. I wrote something called the tomato principle. And because the tomato illustrates what I'm talking about, it's not necessarily palindromic, but you can see when you break to, ma, to into phonemes,
Yes.
you have ma in the middle and you have to on both sides. You have to, ma, to, which means it can be read in both directions. And a lot of words um, in these ancient languages are like that. And I think, from my perspective, from my reading of it, we're at a point where, or at least we were at a point when that was happening, where it was the end of the Mahabharata. The Kuru had lost the Mahabharata. Everyone lost the Mahabharata. And when the Kuru decided that they were finished, they rebuilt based on this weird. I mean, it is really. I mean, I'm still studying it, but it's so ritually precise. The linear B is so underappreciated and undersolved, but I believe that's because it's one of those things where it's it's borderline dangerous information because there's a lot of people who don't want to play in this arena because it it just kind of goes back to that world of language is kind of a living thing,
Well,
and
I was going to
anyone
say
who thinks that they own it,
you're kind of going off the reservation with any of this stuff, um, and which is something I worry about myself. But
yeah,
I come. My supposition is that um, if there's patterns in the world that I can see, then that's just true.
right,
And it's you're not well, I mean, yeah, you can discover dangerous things. You can discover the atom bomb.
right,
But truth is truth. It's not going to
exactly.
endanger your soul, or it will only endanger lies. Is what
That's
seeing
right.
true things will do to. Yeah. But yeah, it's getting into a very something about this is an interesting point you make, and I think there's something similar with the metric system, where the metric system is it's so much easier to calculate things in the metric system because it's tens, hundreds, thousands, etc. Right, and
Right,
a liter is just 10 centimeters on either side,
right.
etc., etc. But back when we like take currency for example, those
Yes.
ridiculous currencies they used to have in Britain.
Yep.
People could do math in their heads back then. But now
Yes.
it's so convenient we can't. And I think that's sort of what you're pointing out with language here is that our current language it's a fantastic alphabet. There's a reason that a lot of the Asians love using it for keyboards, but there's a
Absolutely.
lot hidden because it's been broken apart.
But it was also, in my opinion, designed to be hidden. That's part of the fleece. So all throughout history, before Greece, the idea of a fleece was a negative thing, and it's still a negative thing in my opinion.
You're
Like,
being
I don't know about
fleeced.
you, but I don't want to get fleeced.
And so the whole like Jason and the Argonauts, the Golden Fleece, what was that really about, in your opinion?
So, in my opinion, it's about inverting the language. It really was. It was about inverting the language so that it could be used as a ritual precision tool for empire. There's even something in Linear B called wheels with teeth. That's one of the decodings that they gave, and I'm pretty sure if you hold a candle to this, you're eventually going to find something that looks like Ezekiel's wheels.
If you don't know, Ezekiel's wheels, folks, are his descriptions of his angelic visions
Right.
of God's throne. Wheels upon
That's right.
wheels.
And there's a lot going on in Linear B. There's like a man from Tyre, all the cheese. Um, the cheese is in the form of a wheel. All the chariot wheels, everything's in the form of a wheel in Linear B. It's this, and then there's four accountable men, and they're accountable to each of these industries. But I found that they're actually deputies, which is more like Freemasonry. And I think there's a potential here that it's the origin of Freemasonry. Also, these gentlemen that perpetrated the fleece.
I've read some descriptions of the Aeon of Pisces, also
Okay.
being a time of great forgetting.
Yes.
Now, I've heard this described in a more positive sense that we forgot about reincarnation.
Hmm.
We essentially to focus on moral and spiritual development and also
Yeah.
material development.
Yes.
But yeah, there is You know, it's like this stuff. Like I'm coming to late in life to this stuff. I spent my 20s as an atheist, and
I hear you. I hear you. It's
and
tough.
it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but man, I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Right. And this is why I keep coming back. Like I said, most of my journey about all this stuff um, comes from even when I was young, I had weird dreams about Kali and different types of uh, Heinrich Schliemann. I had a dream about Heinrich Schliemann when I was like 11 years old, and I didn't figure it out that it was Heinrich Schliemann until I was like 42.
Who is that?
He's the gentleman who discovered Troy.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was what happened. Basically, what happened was after I became master, I got the word of the chair, which I can't share with you, but you might be able to go find yourself. But it inspired me to really take a closer look at Cybele, because what I learned was that all throughout Freemasonry, there's all this subtle hinting at Cybele, but no one comes out and says her name. And the more I dug, the more I realized that Cybele is somewhere at the heart of the engine, which really produces all the gas for Western civilization. Like the idea of the sacrifice is what makes Western civilization unique. And in my opinion, the way these wheels were built and the way we came to attribute Cybele as this kind of serpentine goddess with this capability of sibilance and speaking in sibilance, we kind of tried to mirror what was going on in Sanskrit, because, like I said, it's like an inverted trinity, right? So you got three sibilants in Sanskrit, and they're regarded in like a, you don't throw them around. Sibilants are regarded as, almost dangerous, and we have lost that. We don't have any regard for sibilants, and you can even see. Take the Greeks. The Greeks got rid of a lot of their OS endings in like 300 BC, right before the Romans added them to Latin. And that's a real question there. Like, why did that happen? No one can really answer that. And then you look at Emperor Claudius. Why did Emperor Claudius try to add 3 anti-sibilant letters? Like, they didn't work. He didn't get it off the ground.
What were these letters?
Yeah, one of them was let me see, I can look them up real quick. One of them was specifically an anti sigma. And another one was a half H.
Yeah, you don't have to dig too hard. I'm just curious.
No, I got them right here. So it was there was an anti sigma and let's see here. It's kind of a weird one. It says it's kind of like 2 C's linked together.
So a hard C sound.
Yeah, but it's like it looks almost like a sideways 8 with the 2 sides open. Like back to back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the point is, all these letters were designed to control sibilants. The other one was the inverted digamma. And the digamma, if you have followed ancient language from, the way back, you see the digamma as one of the more problematic letters. We definitely do not understand what happened with the digamma. And that was one of the other things that led me to Linear B, because it's probably in there somewhere. What happened to the digamma is and will and could be revealed if we continue looking at Linear B.
How much Linear B writing do we have?
We have a lot. We have more than you would imagine, yeah.
Like we got a whole library that's just waiting there.
Yeah, and there's all this text in there, and um, people haven't really looked at it for 70 years. The last time somebody looked at it, I think, was in the 80s. There was a gentleman who did some more digging in, and the ironic thing is, it really helped me a lot because all he did was found all this Masonic stuff. Like, he actually put a name to the workers in Linear B and said that they were Masons.
Absolutely fascinating. So when you talk about Cybele being the engine behind everything, like
Yeah.
you're talking about like the uh, not the Aztec sacrifices, but the blood sacrifices driving the civilization, like underlying it.
Yeah, and I think what's happened, what I want to here's what I'll tell you what I want to believe before I tell you what I might believe.
Yeah, and
I
again,
want
we're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Basically, both of us, I think.
right, right. But what I want to believe is that over the years, and I mean thousands of years, um, sacrifice, the idea of sacrifice became embedded into these wheels because it was designed that way, and we we tend to think of sacrifice. I guess think of it this way: the whole point of all of it is so that we project everything. We don't actually we don't internalize much. We project everything,
Wait,
and
let
that's
me just toss something in here to see if I'm catching you right, because there's
yeah,
a Peterson had an interesting view on the idea of sacrifice and leading to the work ethic, right? Where
yeah,
you sacrifice the present for a better future, which would
right,
be the a positive form of sacrifice, a voluntary
yes.
sacrifice. Is that what we're talking about right now?
Well, we're talking about unfortunately involuntary sacrifice because the way it's pressed on to the society. So a lot of these sacrifices are made linguistically, like in linear B, when you have the word daughter sounds exactly like the word for vulture in Sanskrit, but when you invert it, it sounds like the word for divine speech. So there's an idea here that if we only take the surface meaning, we're sacrificing the daughter for the divine speech. So there's this, and again, I haven't figured these out, but the point is that what it looks like is that the sacrifice was made collectively. There was a collective idea to make this sacrifice, but then it was really implemented secretly.
Okay, let me tell you something. There's a building that got constructed here in Calgary that
Okay.
it's like the latest office tower, and out front of it, there's this like 30-foot tall wireframe bust of a young woman's head with a blank facial expression, where
Okay.
it's creepy,
I'll bet.
and it's probably sold as empowerment of women, but it looks
Sure.
like sacrifice of the daughter. Go burn up, go waste all the years while you have fertile eggs working in
Yeah.
this office tower, honey.
Right.
And is
It
that's sort of what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You've hit it on the nose right there. It's this idea of basically missing the point. The opportunity is there for us to miss the point, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about it being a time of moral learning, and that's what this is. We're learning to understand what it means to see our own projections in the mirror, and that's what's happening now in the United States.
Could you elaborate? What do you mean by projections?
I mean by like
Like the
when
psychological
people like
projection?
yeah, like when people project an idea or a meaning. A lot of people tend to take the context of everything in the context of themselves. They can't separate what something means without including what it means to them. You know what I mean? Like it's almost this inability to be objective.
Are you talking
It's
about something
only
like what was that, Man in the High Castle, where they, after they finished filming the series, they ritualistically chopped up and burned all the swastikas used in the costumes
wow. Okay, that's serious business.
without even realizing these are materialist atheists,
Right.
right? Like I'm not an atheist, but I am 90% of the time because that's the water we're all swimming in, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And yet these, and also without none of these people even knowing what the swastika is
Right.
or was, which is just
Right.
me being autistic, quite frankly.
Yeah,
Not trying to resurrect the swastika. It just drives me up the wall
of
that
course.
people can only think of one thing, and it's the red skull.
Right.
Really
This is definitely
exasperates me.
part of it.
And yeah, they can only understand that thing through their emotive understanding of it.
Right. It's only through their lens, and that's the whole picture. And that projection just projects outward. And think of it like the double slit experiment. If everyone's projecting their waves outward, we're getting that same effect where you're getting all these cross patterns and waves and ideas. And really, what is it? It's just like, might as well be eating some pilaf soup over here. Like we've lost direction. But I think that's the point. I really do think that's the point. And I hope that we can learn from what we intended to learn from.
I think it's time for a reenchantment.
I do too. In fact, one of the things that I've been saying is that we need to either lay the fleece again or take it off. It's either time to take it off and recognize what's going on, or it's time to write over it and put us back to sleep for another 2,000 years.
And honestly, Aquarius could go either way.
Yeah.
I need to do a video on this. There's a guy called what is his? Shoot, you know what? I'm gonna link it down below when I publish this. Dark Age Theorist, that's his name. And
Okay.
he has some very dire warnings about the age of Aquarius. Like, it's going to be a humanistic age, but in a very government-controlled humanistic kind of age.
That makes a lot of sense. Everyone seems to be. It seems to be quite popular today to defer your authority and to defer your own sovereignty to the government for the good of everyone. And it seems like madness to me.
And the government is going to be ruled by the sign of Scorpio for the next.
Oh, that's the worst
21,
choice.
yeah. Which you're already seeing. It's you posted something on Facebook 3 weeks ago. The cops kicked down your door.
Yeah. Well, it's what's going on in England today.
Yeah. And to a lesser extent, Canada and the United States as well. I mean, we just jailed somebody for Holocaust denial.
Oh gosh.
Which, listen, if there's things that are so true that we can't question them, then there can't only be one thing that's so true that we can't question it. So tell me the other 5 things that you're mandatory by law required to believe in, because there must be more than one.
Yeah. So one of the things you can tell, again, anywhere where you're not permitted to speak about something, there's a pretty good chance that there's a lot of information buried in there that we still don't understand.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about the Holocaust, partly because I'm in Canada.
Yeah, there's no reason to. It's not going to get us anywhere.
I also have Jewish friends, despite criticizing. Yeah, it's just a can of worms, man. But isn't that like, I didn't want to go in that direction, but like, that's the thing. You're poking the bear, even studying linear B.
That's right.
You can't help but poke the bear at some point.
Right. If you want the knowledge, you have to poke the bear. You're not going to get it with what's been attested in academic circles. Unfortunately, academia has a very tight knit culture of compartmentalization. So they don't even cross departments most of the time. And that is what really hurts our knowledge as an empire, as a society. I mean, whether you want to consider us an empire or a democracy, I don't care. Personally, I think it's an empire.
Oh, it's an empire.
Yeah,
The empire never ended, to quote
right.
Philip K.
I
Dick.
mean, it's however you want to dress it up and say that we vote and all that stuff is fine with me. But I won't be calling it anything but an empire anytime soon.
So, let's touch back on Cybele again. What would you say that I left out, or that I got somewhat wrong, or that you'd take a different approach to in my video?
One thing that I'll tell you what, one thing that I'm interested in that I had hoped you would be able to elaborate on, because I'm still trying to understand what Cybele does have to do with Saturnalian cults. And that's something that there seems to be a real link there, but like you said, it doesn't look like it actually holds anything. So that's something that I'm interested in. But as far as the other stuff, I thought most of what you covered was pretty much spot on. I mean, Cybele is all the mystery that you described her as. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and God help me, I can that's maybe one of the reasons that they recommend not studying this stuff, because it's not a nice thing to understand. It's not nice to understand the mind of a serial killer, for instance.
That's right, exactly. And so let me give you some more examples about the wordplay around Cybele. I personally call her Miss Tree, like as in mystery, but Miss, like Mrs. Tree or Miss Tree.
Yeah.
And this is because there's all this data that flows in the middle of trunk, whether it's beehives being, you know how beehives used to be in tree trunks?
Yeah.
Right. There's that whole idea, and then there's the trunk of a torso. You have the back in the day when they would
that by the way, that is where in some of the stories where Attis or Adonis was resurrected was inside of the pine tree. Like they carved out the trunk.
Right. There's so much.
And just to touch on it again, the beehives and hexagons. There's another Saturnic connection for you.
It all circles around this middle, and when you get close enough to that middle, it just looks like a disaster. You bring all these words in. Like, I'll give you an example. Are you familiar with La Garduna?
No.
So La Garduna is the precursor to the honored societies. And the honored societies, now there's a guy named John Dickey. He researches 2 and only 2 books or studies. He studies the honored societies, aka organized crime, modern era, or Freemasonry. Now, he studies both of these, but it concerns me because as a Freemason, I see so much stuff this guy misses. Like, he misses so much stuff, and he wants to. It's troubling to me when you get a guy like this who stands up there and these are the only 2 subjects he studies, so the whole world can look at him when he says, "Oh, there's no crossover." Right? He stands there on that line.
What?
And guards that line. Meanwhile, during COVID, okay, the Italian or the Calabrian authorities locked up so many Andrangheta and Masonic members all in one huge raid during COVID. And it totally went undiscovered. Nobody cares about it. The judge on the case was like,
was this in Italy?
I don't know what you want me to do about this.
Was this in Italy that this happened?
Yeah, this was in Italy. And it was such a big deal. Even the Grand Master from England had to say something because it was I mean, and this is the point. So John Dickey calls organized crime Freemasonry for murderers. And the reason for this, which I would say goes all the way back to Linear A, it's because when you see at the end of the Iliad, okay, where does Idomeneus go? He goes to Calabria. So you have a split in the craft. You have the official craft and you have the underground craft. And the underground craft has always run out of Calabria, Sicily, and that's why someone like John Dickey exists. He can't figure out why they're so similar. Oh, they're so similar because they split 1400 BC at the end of the Iliad.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and if you think about it, why would Idomeneus be going to Calabria? That's right across the water from where that's Mount Etna, where Vulcan's forge is. Now, the crazier part is that I would tell you that I think Idomeneus is also Hephaestus. And if that makes him Hephaestus, that makes him Vulcan too.
Yes.
So going to his own forge makes a lot of sense.
Okay, let me tell you about the theory I have, or that I'm the idea that I want to find the time to explore properly, and like I worry I don't know enough musical theory for it. But what Pythagorean tuning on instruments is, it's that when you have it's about wavelength harmonics. I'm just going to explain for the audience. I'm sure you already know this, but if you have a wavelength where it does one wave in say a foot, and if you do one that has two waves in a foot, they harmonize. That's high C and low C. That's a 1-to-2 ratio. And so then what we do to get all the other notes, because you have C and you have high C and low C, you do a 2-to-3 ratio, because that's the next simplest mathematical ratio to chop up wavelengths. And if you do that, you wind up with a circle of 12 notes. But they're not evenly spaced. That's the crazy part. There's something called a Wolf fifth, which is if you're if you get sheet music, but it's not tuned for your instrument, then you're gonna have like the really dramatic. I was trying to play. What is it? The final countdown. Da 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 da. I was trying to play it on my sax, but I had the wrong sheet music, and so da 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 da. That's a Wolf fifth right there, because they're not evenly spaced and they only mix together in particular ways.
Right.
And you can keep
music is so complicated. That's why it's actually my last area of study. One of my friends is teaching me music now. He's a music teacher, and I'm learning music, and I reserved it for the end because I believe in that kind of Bill and Ted way that music is the answer. Like music is the solution. You will find the solution in music.
All right, so check this out. The Greeks and Romans, they typically recognized 12 major gods. Right. And you have 7 notes, but 12 semitones, which is, again, that odd, the 7 planetary energies and the 12 gods. But there's also a 13th god, Dionysius, who was born of Zeus's thigh. So he's the personification of Zeus. Like there's something very comparable there to God and Jesus Christ. So you could readily conceive of Zeus and Dionysius as high C and low C in the musical scale.
Okay.
and so what I'm looking at is what's your starter for C? Where do you start the scale, right? Because different instruments, they're tuned differently, so they start at different places. This is well, you'll have some sheet music for the alto saxes and different sheet music for the tenor saxes, and they're playing different melodies that harmonize with each other.
Right. Now, a lot of this has to do also, I'm sure you're familiar with the two different forms of music, the one that we've been using for the last 100 years or so, and the one that we used before, the 432 versus 440, right?
I've heard of that. I'm open. I've dug into it a little bit, and it's one of those cases where I haven't found the conspiracy.
Well, it doesn't look like it's necessarily a conspiracy. So this is what something I've been struggling with a lot, is that conspiracy is such a tough word to work around, because can something be done on purpose and still not be a conspiracy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I try not to be too dismissive either. Like I'm obnoxiously rationalistic.
That's good though. That's good, because you have to be, because there's so many people trying to trick you.
But I'm kind of a jerk too because of it.
Well, I'm a grouch, if that helps.
Perfect. Which is, like, I'm open to the 432, but the debunking videos, which I hate debunkers. But they're no fun.
Stuff to look for.
Like don't give it. Some of the stuff it just gets right under my skin because But like the 432 doesn't. It's just I don't know that I think things are just harmonized at 432, and like I don't know. We can harmonize to something else, right?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I think most of the time, what I've seen, here's what I've seen. Most of the time, everything is broken down to a binary, right? So once you had 440, somebody had to come up with like 432 as a binary, because when we play in the sandbox, they don't want you arguing about too much. So they find the binaries for you to argue on, what's safe to argue in, and then draw like a line or a circle or a square around it, and that's what you're allowed to play in. And
yes, the left versus right dynamic. This is what you're allowed to argue about. Overton window, yeah.
Right, and I'm not into that. I'm into, like you, finding the truth. I want the truth. I don't care if it helps the left. I don't care if it helps the right. I want the truth.
Let me ask you, have you ever heard of the game Amnesia: The Dark Descent?
No, is that a video game?
It's a video game. Fantastic horror video game, the first one. Second one was not as good, but like it's more of a walking simulator, quite frankly. But the story is fantastic.
Okay.
The story, and this is, I'm going to tie it around. The story is that this guy that runs a pig packing plant in Britain goes on vacation to Mexico, and he has a vision of not only the horrors of the Aztec Empire, but the horrors of his two infant sons dying horribly in World War I. And so he turns his meatpacking plant into a giant machine. He kills both his sons and uses their hearts to fuel this machine that turns men into pigs, because that's what we deserve.
Oh my god. Wow.
Like, so it's not a very good game, but the plot is fantastic.
That sounds serious.
Which is something that's always struck me about, and actually what inspired me to do this video. I mentioned that there's the other guy, I linked them, what do they call themselves? They're a fantastic YouTube channel. Two Brothers Do It, Canadian. Truth and Reason, or something like that. They're linked under the video.
Okay.
Partly it was them pointing out that I'd been mistaking Saturn for Cybele, or
Okay.
mistaking Cybele for Saturn. But also, I read a really great article talking about World War I, and we still don't know why it happened.
No.
There's no good
I mean,
explanation.
we also don't know why the Spanish Civil War is not included in World War II. Right? I mean, the Spanish Civil War literally happened right up until World War II started. How's it not part of World War II?
Yeah, right. It's never included because it doesn't fit the good versus evil narrative.
That's right. Exactly.
And hell, there was a man. I forced myself to sit down and watch Men Behind the Sun.
I've never seen that.
It's about the Unit 731, the Japanese experiment prison, where they just fucking tortured people for science.
Oh,
and during the peace negotiation,
science, right?
We let them get away with it in
right.
exchange for the data, and that data has saved so many lives.
So that's one thing about me being an MIS major. I tend to err on the side of data, and one thing that's one thing that's scary about how we work as a culture is that you will always find that paradigm in where the more we do something horrible and the more we study it, the more you will get a great return on that.
You know, one of the things I love to point out is that at the end of World War II, we put to death about 20 Nazis for war crimes.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we hired over 2,000 to work at NASA.
Right. Yeah, paperclip is a foundational part of the end of World War II, and I have come to associate it now with the language war. I believe we're in a also, like, part of the information war is the language war, and we know what pi is, but we still play a coy game because it works in our favor. And
wait, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that it's part of that idea that, we don't come from anyone else. We're not.
We have been to space and God is not there.
Yes. So this whole idea that we could have come from another culture is what's really devastating to the Western mind.
This is something I run into with. I don't know if these people are bots. I don't know if they're CIA employees. I don't know if it's organic. You can't tell these days. But there's a distinct subset of people. And actually, you know what? No, some of them are real. Okay. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people, a significant number, that have a real chip on their shoulder about Christianity. And I can understand why. Like, I don't want to, let's talk about the Schofield Bible, for instance. I don't want to say that they're completely wrong and they should be censored, because they've got some points, but they're just so viscerally, there's all cultures have learned from all other cultures.
Exactly.
Okay? We, in the West, we're not always on top. Let's be honest about that.
It's impossible we can track that.
I love being who I am. I love my skin and my blood, but it doesn't mean I need to detract from others, or like, there's something, we were talking about patterns in language earlier. And in Hebrew, is it Hebrew? I think it's Hebrew. The numerology for it's something like husband and wife. Adds up to 3, and child adds up to 3.
That's right. Yeah, it's like very harmonious.
Yes, which is these really weird patterns that, it's, I haven't dug in enough to say if it's real or if it's just a coincidence, but people that have say it's not just a coincidence.
Yeah, and I tend to lean with them that it's not a coincidence, but I also don't overreach, and I think that it could be part of a designed language. I think people were smart enough to design languages like this.
There's also a possibility brought up. It's a book. What's it called? I think it's called like The Secret Teachings or something.
Secret Teachings of All Ages?
No, that's the one I'm working through right now.
Okay.
Manly P. Hall.
Yeah.
No, this is a different one. It was published, it was written like 10, 15 years ago. But he brings up the possibility that all of us speak backwards and forwards all the time. We just don't realize it.
I would agree with that.
Like, I find that quite plausible. So it might not just be that Hebrew is unique and the best language ever. It might just be that many languages, to some degree or another, have this property.
Well, it's not only that. We have to, at least from my point of view, and I think you too, with the Saturnalian angle and Chronos and the god of time, it also has to do with how time is actually moving and what the current of time is doing. If time is also bidirectional and we're just not picking up on that, that would have everything to do with our language sometimes being bidirectional.
You know, it's something I think about a lot, and I know, theories of relativity often get abused here.
Yeah.
Because simultaneity is not a thing. Simultaneous is just something from your observation point.
Right.
Different observation point, things happen one before the other. But causality doesn't get violated by that.
Right.
But that being said, relativity does hypothetically allow for causality violations.
Sure.
And then you've got the what do they call it? Who was that South African dictator? Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
I'm not a Mandela fan.
Fair enough.
But they call it the Mandela effect, which 90% are misrememberings. 90%, like, Luke, I'm your father. He didn't say that. It's just how you remember it, because if you're going to quote it, you got to put some damn I am your father. My daddy?
Right.
No, like Darth Vader. Oh, I get it now. But some of them are super weird.
Like Bernstein Bears.
That one. Man, I would have totally called them the Bearstain Bears when I was a kid.
Well, not only that, I specifically have so many memories of arguing with my mom about how it was pronounced.
Steen or Stein.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that too.
So you wouldn't have those conversations if you weren't pointing at it at a letter that was an E.
Yeah. You'd actually look at it. You'd think you would.
I mean, this is something we studied. Right? It's not something that we saw in passing on a supermarket shelf. I had every Bernstein Bears book. My mom would read it to me every night. We would talk about it often, whether it was Bernstein or Bernstein. Like, it's very, that's one of the fishier ones that
the universally fishy. Yeah, everybody experienced that one. The one about the Shaq was in a movie or something about a genie. That one's not for me. Never even heard of that one.
Me neither. You want to shoot back to Cybele for a second? Because I wanted to
yes
mention something. Are you familiar with the group Galantis?
I am not.
Okay, so they're I don't know how to describe them really, but I think it's like two brothers or two men. And they're basically they seem like DJs, but they do work with other musicians. And let me tell you, from my perspective, these guys are like masters of wizardry. Because when you watch, there's a video by Galantis called Peanut Butter Jelly. And this video is all in a supermarket, takes place in a supermarket that's called Galantis Farms. And the farms is spelled with a PH. And the whole video is a very weird video. These people are all ripping their clothes off, turning into animal print. The point is that there's a really attractive actress, I believe, in this video. She's got blonde hair, and she does this whole thing coming down this one aisle, and behind her is a giant rooster on the wall. She's got a feather tattoo on the inside of her bicep, like a scroll pen, like a pen that a scribe would use.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole video culminates in the milk department of the supermarket. And this whole time you watch this video, this one woman is messing with this magazine, and on the magazine it says "Good golly, Miss Molly" or something like that. Or it says, the point is, it says "golly." Okay, and there's enough symbolism in this video that insinuates castration, golly, Cybele, great mother, milk, Milky Way, galaxy, that it just is like mind blowing. If there's one video that or one modern cultural trope that embraces Cybele more than anything else, it's the Galantis peanut butter and jelly video. And the fact that they're called Galantis too, it's got that gall beginning for
Galley. The galley priests
so
who castrate themselves.
Exactly. And the whole video, you'll see there's this sense that there's all this money being paid out. And you just get this sense from my perspective in this video that this whole video is just convincing people that, just get paid to get castrated. It's just like, seems like it's embedded in this video. It's wild. If you haven't watched it, I recommend watching it. It's not only that, it's a great tune.
I'm going to have to check that out. And even the title, Peanut Butter and Jelly, references, exactly. Childhood snacks.
Yeah. and have you ever seen that Lunchables video?
No.
Or that Lunchables commercial? There's a Lunchables commercial where a little girl, and this is like really key stuff from the stuff that I'm looking from. It's a little Indian girl, and she's got a Trojan horse, and she's like, and they cut to this scene, and the two little boys, it's like a redheaded kid with freckles and another white kid, and they're both fighting to like get her Lunchables, and she's like moving a Trojan horse in, and she like gets their lunch or something like that. It's such a obscure allegory that if you're not so in tune with this stuff, you'll miss it.
Creepy.
Yeah. And I see a lot of that. I don't know about you, but I see Cybele references in modern culture more than I think people realize she's there.
This is out of left field. You might have nothing to say, and don't feel bad, but
okay.
Black goo. Do you have any thoughts on black goo?
No. Are you talking about like
the symbol of black goo? Because it started popping up more and more often in music videos with Hollywood celebrities, with the Alien franchise, the Xenomorph franchise.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I don't know, I was reading one lady was writing, she's a druidess I follow on Substack, that she thinks it's graphene. Which I believe also forms hexagons, so this would be a more Saturn side of things. I have a lot
to say about graphene.
I mean, please do. I do. I don't have a ton to say on it.
There's a lot to know about it. First of all, it's
almost a self-assembling machine.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's the holy grail of 3D printing, graphene. So you're talking about my industry now.
Graphene is perfect. Yeah, I am, aren't I?
yeah. That is the holy grail of our industry. If we can get graphene to print, we'll be able to print anything, anywhere, anytime. and there are people working on it, and they might tell you they have like someone's printing graphene or whatever. But if they were really printing graphene, like printing it, it'd be a different story. If they're doing it right now, they're printing it in like just a layer format, but we're not building on it like in like a 3D capacity. But there's something more to graphene, and this has to do with letters and the way we think, because your letters in a modern alphabet are called graphemes with an M. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, I mean, for over 100 years or so, those graphemes were written with graphite pencils.
Yep.
Okay. So there's this whole, I like to think of them as like gravitational fields for language.
Sometimes synchronicity. Carl Jung's synchronicity. That's
right.
I did I haven't published it yet, have I? But I was talking about predictive programming, and Simpsons is not predictive programming. They're just very well educated, and they make a lot of guesses. But
and you can make that many guesses and be right sometimes.
But that one episode where they had the Twin Towers as 9/11 on that was synchronicity. Because stuff like that happens constantly. It's not on purpose. Right. If you pay attention, that stuff will happen in your own life all the time.
Yeah.
And where you know it wasn't pre-programmed.
Exactly. So you get the proof.
Yeah, so the graphite and graphene, it's like, yes, there's no mechanistic connection between graphemes and graphite pencils. You're not saying that there was a conspiracy by Big Graphite to do anything.
Exactly.
It's a synchronicity, however, and you should pay attention to synchronicities.
Yes, because I think it's developed by the language. I think the language has a script in it, almost, if you will.
It unfolds, it unfurls in a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. It's and I think when you say it like that, it also pertains to time.
Yes, and that's I was saying earlier. I am ambivalent as to whether even time exists.
Yeah, sure. I could agree with that. Yeah.
Like, does the past have an existence?
Right, or is it just a memory?
Yes, is there just this present that we're moving through, but also, can future events affect past events? I think they can.
I agree that they can. I read something recently. It was very technical, but it basically said that some guy proved that in a technical sense that can absolutely happen.
And the physics doesn't deny it being possible.
Right.
Like there's certain types of loops that don't violate causality.
Right.
Like if they're here, I'm getting a little bit woo, so I apologize. But if the course you're on has a definite outcome, yeah, you hear these like midnight horror stories on Reddit that like I dreamed I got into a car accident and then I braked and then a big semi truck blew through the light.
Right.
Well, it doesn't strike me that all those stories are necessarily fictitious. Like if there's this inevitable thing that's going to happen, and you can tell that's going to happen, so you can change your behavior from it. Which is quite frankly, that's what we do when we think about anything.
Right. And there's no reason. This is one of the disconnects we have in the West, is that, unfortunately, a lot of the way of our thinking and the way we conduct our rational mind and our logical mind, we don't want to even think about things that we can't understand, which I think is a poor outlook.
Because it's about 95% of existence is not susceptible to scientific scrutiny.
Exactly. So it's too much to ignore. And I think we're too comfortable ignoring what we're afraid to admit we don't understand. And I don't think we study what we don't understand as much as we should.
You know, it's funny. This is kind of the cosmic horror aspect of it. That
Yeah.
you should stay ignorant because even though you're walking in the midst of monsters, if you don't know about them, you'll be safe. That's the argument from cosmic horror.
Right.
And hell, maybe they're right. Maybe you and I are screwed.
They may be right. They may be right, but I'll tell you the one thing that, and it might be a false indicator, but the more I study and the more I come to understand what's going on here, I don't know about you, but it looks to me like most of the problems that exist in this world and in this country come down to language miscommunication. Most people cannot communicate well with one another, and it often ends disastrously.
That's an excellent point. I'm inclined to agree with that point.
Yeah, and really, there's no one's going around. Not enough people, I don't think, go around mediating things. I think everyone thinks everyone else has everything under control.
You know, I don't know if I said this in the video that you saw, but I've been experimenting with divination with tarot cards. And
Okay.
my hesitation, here's, how to put it. When it comes to divination, there's things that you're allowed to ask and things you aren't. You aren't allowed to spy on your neighbor with a telescope or with tarot cards. You're not allowed to ask. Like, it's none of your fucking business, pal. So, but inquiring from reality I'm not worried about that. But there is inherent grammar to the tarot cards. And that is the thing that makes me hesitate a little bit. Well, I guess I'm not hesitating, but but the problem is you can't understand a grammar until you speak the language. Like, you actually need to go do the thing, but you need to be aware of the grammar that you're using.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's like so much of the problems now that you're seeing too with definitions, right? It's hard to use, even if you're using the right grammar. Today, I mean, there's a blockchain that exists to keep track of all the different definitions of certain words that everyone has come to use them to be.
I'm not surprised that there is. Of course there would be.
That's why the idea that most people speak to each other and don't understand that there's almost 5 definitions for any word that they could speak.
I love that one of the definitions of the word literally is figuratively.
I know, isn't that amazing?
But it is very symptomatic. This is I mean, I love Latin because Latin is it's academic, right? So yeah. I'm sure things were just as bad back then. But the Latin that we have today is very precise. It's very mechanical. It's very regimented. It's
a ritual language.
It has been for 2,000 years.
Exactly.
Well, I should say up until recently.
Right.
I mean, hey, is the Pope Catholic? I don't know.
We can't really determine that anymore.
Pretty sure he ain't, but yeah, it's whereas like language is used so loosely. Like this is I'm a terrible person to be friends with or related to. I am so anal retentive about language usage. And like I agree with my mother on everything. Right. But then she sends me videos and I just berate her about how stupid the video is. Even though like I agree with the thrust of the video. It's like they said everything wrong.
Exactly.
I can't put vibes into a calculator, Mom.
Right. It's funny though, because you see, I think you see the same heading that we're all coming to, and it's a really confusing place if no one's going to address it consciously.
Oh, let me tell you. So there's a little theory I came up with. I don't know how much the history backs it up, but I have a 1600-year cycle of history theory
Okay.
because the Bronze Age collapse, the collapse of Rome, and our current collapse all happened 1600 years apart.
Interesting.
And then I started looking at. I think there's probably more before that. I don't know.
Have you heard the one of the things I keep coming across that I have not yet to research, but everyone keeps focusing on this 1666 date. Are you familiar with that?
No, what? I haven't heard of it. Tell me about it.
Apparently, it's some important date in Western civilization that has something to do with the occult. Um, Let me see here.
See, I would posit that European civilization kicked off its spring with Charlemagne, and then 12. So that was 850 or so.
Okay.
Then things grew stagnant, and so we got the Black Death as a reward. But then we had the Renaissance, which was the summer of European civilization, and then since
Okay.
1666 would be when we went into the autumn. This would be like Westphalia. This would be the when we
Habsburg.
Habsburg, like these organized, like all of our institutions are now written in stone.
Right. Right.
And some of us have kings, some of us have presidents, but like it doesn't like it's all the same shit, right? New president, you're still gonna have an FDA and a CIA and et cetera, et cetera. You're still gonna have to file
Yeah.
your TPS report. And this is the autumn.
Absolutely.
So
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 it turns out
1666 is that
16,
yeah, that lines up with it. So please go ahead.
yeah, 1665, it says the Great Plague wiped out, and so it's considered a cursed year because it wiped out 100,000 Londoners. And then in 1666, the Jewish false messiah Sabbatai Zevi.
Yeah, the Sabbatean Frankists. My Jewish
Yeah,
friend hates Sabbatean Frankists so much. I don't know if you know a lot about them. Basically,
I've heard a little bit about them.
the essence of their religion is that to bring about the return of the true Christ, because they reject Jesus, they have to fill the world with as much sin as possible.
Well, that's a wonderful thing.
Oh, they're fucking terrible, man.
So, yeah, have you looked into any of the Back to the Future stuff? Because it also a lot of that seems to come back to this same time period with
Actually,
the
wait. Let me put a pin in that. I've got one
yeah.
last thing about the 1600-year cycle.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So, when the Bronze Age collapse happened,
Yeah.
we lost literacy. Like we
Okay.
couldn't afford scribes anymore when the whole Bronze Age thing happened. Then with the Roman collapse, we lost printing because there wasn't enough vellum going around. So we had like the very you have to back then you had to reprint books. You had to like by hand every 20 years or so because they fall apart over time. And
Okay.
so 99% of the books that we had in libraries back around the turn of the millennium, 99% were turned into Bibles and works of Plato and a few other things because we didn't have enough paper. So we
Right.
reused the old books, and it wasn't because the church hated learning. It's because we could only preserve 1% of the things that we had.
Wow.
And this time around, well, we can't read emails from the 1980s.
Right.
And we are going to go through a literacy decoherence where computers won't connect to each other, the internet fails, the AIs turn the whole internet into a hallucination. Something like
Right.
that is happening right now.
Well, this is definitely part of the first information war. I don't know if you know that we're actually in what some people call the first information war.
Fifth generational warfare. Yes.
Right.
What you believe is of serious military value to the state.
Exactly.
You're a bit, well, You know what? Your opinions on a riot halfway across the world have serious, like, military security. Like,
Absolutely.
it's a concern.
Yeah.
But sorry,
It,
you
it
go ahead.
no, what I was saying earlier about have you looked into the Back to the Future stuff? There's a
No,
lot
yes,
of
yeah. Oh,
weird.
do the Back to the Future stuff. I want to hear this.
So I've looked into a little bit, and there's this couple of videos I've seen about how all the twin pines and the becomes
The
the
Lone
lone
Pine.
pine. Yeah. But I think what I want to draw your attention to is that everybody looks at that conspiracy in terms of the CIA and the Twin Towers and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I say there's something going on with Sybil and Addis there, with the pine tree and the two pines collapsing to one pine. And then when you go back and you trace the dates that Marty goes to,
He and
and
okay, keep going, keep going.
if you if you if you were to if you were to keep going on the dates that he goes back on, you find yourself in the house of Lorraine in France, which is of course Marty's mother. So there's all
Lorraine,
this,
yes, her name is Lorraine.
yeah, there's all this weird, and Lorraine is actually, the etymology of Lorraine goes back to a male king. So it gets really weird when you look at
I
the
mean, like,
Sybil aspect.
Alsace-Lorraine is an important province in France. That's all I know, but
Well,
I do
why do we,
recognize the name.
right? So think about it like this: I have a German Shepherd, but in France they would call it an Alsatian. That's part of losing the war. So
And
yeah,
actually, the whole plot of the first movie is it's sort of a redemption of Sybil.
yeah, and think about the under the water, the under the
Under the water,
sea dance. Yeah,
descent
there's a
into the
lot of
subconscious.
um, Sybil themes in the whole like framework of Back to the Future.
Didn't uh not Gretchen. Who's the monster that the great Nordic hero has to fight?
Oh, Grendel.
Grendel. Grendel's
Yeah,
mother lived under the water.
really.
Yes. She was an
Are you
underwater
familiar?
creature.
Are you familiar with the myth of the city of YS?
No.
So apparently, the city of YS is a mythic city that's somewhere between Brittany, England, and France, and it was buried under the ocean, maybe during a deluge. Um, and this area is rumored to rise. This town will rise when Paris falls. Now, if you know a lot of mythology here, Paris is also a fundamental figure in Troy,
Yes. Yes.
and the idea of YS is associated with a curse. So there's also the curse of Yamak Shemo, which is what a lot of the nasty books about Jesus are about. The It's like the curse. It's a Hebrew curse of erasing the name, erasing someone's name, and there's like this association there with the letters YS of banishment and excommunication and just exile. And this town has a myth around it too. That's a very water goddess myth. It's a princess, and she unlocks the gates for her father, or for her. It has like the same kind of thing as the Iliad. Like she unlocks the gates, lets the guy in, but then the water winds up flooding it, and she winds up becoming a sacrifice, and the whole town is a sacrifice or something like that. But it's got this very I forget her name, but it's got that similar feel of like Sybil in the underworld, especially if you treat the underworld as underwater too.
Well,
It's
yeah,
a
the,
lot
the
of
under it is the subconscious.
Right. A lot of times I use them interchangeably, I think, and people don't realize that they're really references to the same idea.
Yeah, I've got one thing to add to the Back to the Future thing. Just it's a pithy observation that I don't have many opportunities to point out. Back
Okay.
to the Future Part 2
Yeah.
is America's shadow. It's the Jungian shadow of America. So
Okay.
when he goes back to evil 1985, what
Yeah.
what what do you have? Casinos, biker
Gambling
gangs,
everywhere.
black
Yeah.
crime, Donald Trump, and for some
Right.
fucking reason, Islamic terrorists.
Yeah.
Because Islamic terrorists were all over the news at that period of history. Like
Right.
there's a
Right. They
movie
did do that.
called The Monster, The Beast, that came out about the noble about a Russian that leaves. He like betrays his tank commander to join the noble jihadis in Afghanistan. So anyway, there is a lot of insight going on with those movies.
There is. There is. And I think that's part of um,
I
the
I, I lean
language's awakening.
I would lean synchronicity with Lorraine and all that, like
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I'm almost exclusively in that direction now. I tend to not think of things in conspiracies anymore. It's too dull and it requires too much intelligence, and there's not enough of it to go around.
and you know what, man, it's 90% of the conspiracy, which are like there's an organized thing that's happening, but then
Right.
like it's 100% true, but then you go and dig into it, and there's
Yeah.
nothing but people.
And people are so fallible. It's insane.
Like it's not it's a mass formation is what it is. It's
Right.
a god manifesting and taking control of, and you know what, and I feel it happening to me at times too. um like I get onto sometimes I go onto Twitter or whatever, and I get pretty wound up by the stuff I see, and I post some spicy stuff,
Sure.
and then I back off. I'm like, yeah, gee, I just got seized by Mars or something.
Right. Right.
You know, like I can feel that I got sucked into something.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the way our culture is like meant to interact. It's meant to be um, hyper competitive, even just talking.
That's why I said in the video, I don't think the solution to Cybele is Mars. Um,
No. And are you familiar with the marriage of? I found this out recently, and I was shocked. Did you know that Aphrodite was married to Vulcan?
no.
It's so bizarre. It just seems so bizarre. And there's this whole thing where there's this whole painting of because Aphrodite cheats on Vulcan with Mars, and it's this whole there's Renaissance paintings about it. It's such a and it's I have a problem with Sybil and Aphrodite. I tend to see them as
Two sides of the
one
same coin.
in the same.
Yeah.
Like I can separate them. And are you familiar with here's another good one. Do you know like the Galapagos Islands?
Yeah.
Well, the Galapagos Islands is an island chain, and I don't know if you have ever seen it, but from the top, it just looks like a giant hole. It's a forget what they're called, but it's like one of those giant puddles with coral that grows in it.
Let me Google this.
It's called it's actually weird because it references a city in Turkey. It's called
I think I know.
it's called an atoll.
An atoll, yeah.
Atoll. Right. And that always reminds me of Anatolia. And when you look at the Galapagos Islands, there's only one word in the world that sounds like Galapagos, and that's Galapagos, which is the beautiful buttocks of Aphrodite. And when you look at the giant hole that's in the Galapagos Islands, you go, well, that's a little weird.
I've got it on Google Maps right now. What hole are you talking about?
So on the Galapagos Islands, there's an atoll that holds all
The crazy, like, yeah.
all the life that Darwin wanted to study. And if you type in Galapagos Islands aerial view.
I'm on Google Maps right now.
Oh, Google Maps. Okay, let me see. I've never done Google Maps. Let's see.
Isla Genovese.
So you got the volcano there, but then you
it might be. There's a lake at the center of this island, Isla Genovese, which is the one to the northeast. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about.
Let me see if that's it. Is that near Isla Pinta?
It's in the far northeast. It's a little tiny one.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I see it. Here we go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you see that? I mean, that looks like it could also be a Galapagos.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, it's the fine buttocks of Aphrodite. Right? It's the only other word. Galapagos Islands and Galapagos. And this is one of those synchronicity things I'm saying. Like, there's no reason why all these things should be sounding alike. And the fact that that's an atoll where, it references back to Anatolia, at least in my mind. I mean, when I don't hear a lot of words like atoll, but it just has to do with these synchronicities around this feminine archetype. Like you've got all these recurring ideas. I really do put a lot of it into recursion. A lot of this is recursion.
Yes. Which, man, that's a concept I barely understand. But
it's very complicated because it comes from math and music.
Yes, and it's freaking everywhere.
Right.
Do you know God's thumbprint?
I've heard of it. Familiarize me.
You should look up a YouTube video of God's thumbprint, and you'll find the video I'm thinking of. You might find a different one, but it's a fractal pattern that it just infinitely zooms in, and it's the same shape again and again and again, and that right there, that's what recursion is. Yes. And yet everything we do is recursion.
Right.
The monomyth is one thing I've been trying to grasp, because like the same way that you're saving music for last, I don't know, I'm trying to crack the laws of reality through the monomyth.
Yeah.
And the monomyth, it's missing. Like, part of the reason movies suck these days is because they're trying to be monomyths, when the monomyth is not a myth. It's the sum total of all myths. So the monomyth will have something like 30 major events, but in a myth you only will have 12 or 15 or 7.
Okay.
Right? But it's when you put all the stories together, that's where you get all of the 30 points of the monomyth. And we are monomyth. Like, we live as myths. Myths are what we are.
Yeah. That's all we have to go by.
I've even seen some people suggest that the way our nervous system works is through mythological exploration, like on a simpler level, but the idea that our nervous system explores every possibility of how to do something and then selects one from the universes of places we don't die.
Right.
Which I know this is all really far out, man. It's hard to...
Well, have you also heard about quantum immortality?
I have. See, like, that one strikes me as very similar, but it's a little bit too it's a little bit too on the nose conspiracy.
Yeah,
If you know what I'm
yeah.
saying.
It
I'm
places you ultimately as the only person in existence,
yes. I guess what
and
I'm
that
saying
would mean
is
you're a prisoner.
extremely. What I'm saying is extremely similar, but it's like a more complex version of that.
Okay.
So like yeah, I'm basically saying the same thing, just with more parts added. So
Okay.
it's more sophisticated. That's all.
That's fantastic because there's not many things more sophisticated than quantum immortality. So I haven't even
We
heard of
should.
this.
Why don't you explain that for the audience, just in case they don't know?
All right. So quantum immortality is this notion or idea that as a being, uh, you exist eternally. You'll never be killed. You'll never die, no matter what happens. And there's a lot of stories that they illustrate how quantum immortality works. And in this one story, this guy thinks he dies, but then he gets put together like millions of years into the future by like some race uh, excavating Earth, and they put his DNA back together, and ultimately he winds up like merging with this singularity, and all the stories are different, but the idea is that you can never die and that your consciousness always exists. But there's like horror parts of it too, like, well, your body can be killed, but your consciousness might just stay next to it laying there. Like there's all kinds of like weird
Yeah, the idea is
you know
like if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is true, then even though it's a very low probability branch, there
right,
is a branch where you never die.
right,
And there's tons of branches where you already died and you just stop being
yep,
conscious in those. You are conscious in the branch where you haven't died.
right.
I don't know what I think about the many worlds interpretation.
Yeah, I wrestle with that myself. Have you played Bioshock 3 or whatever it was?
Oh, there's actually I gotta find these videos. There's a great exploration of the Bioshock series and how it's about how the creator hates Goyim.
Okay.
And it's extremely convincing.
Really?
It's extremely like I can't. I'm so glad I pirated those games. Uh,
I
like
mean,
the
I'm open to anything. I mean, it's feasible. Um, because I will tell you, I've always been fascinated with how you have to accept in Christianity, even though nobody wants to, that the Jews are the chosen people.
see chosen doesn't mean best.
No, but it still means chosen. Still means chosen.
I mean, I'm not carrying a flag for the Catholic Church these days because the Catholic Church ain't carrying a flag for me either. You know, so
I know
it's
exactly.
yeah, like if the Pope wants to call a fifth crusade to put a Christian monarch in charge of Jerusalem, I'll sign up for that. I would sign up for that. But right now he's blessing melting ice cubes or something. So
That was weird. But you know what? It's all related because the ice caps and the frozen part of so much of whether it's language or whether it's part of our culture, the idea of freezing is a huge part of it. And it also comes back to castration um, through the gel root. Um, because if you look at so many words have this weird association with castration and and money. Like you've got gelding, geld, right? So a gelding is a castrated horse,
yep,
but in German, geld is money.
yep,
And then you've got gilding, which is something can be gilded with gold, covered in gold lightly. Um, and then you have to be a member of a guild, right? To be a member of a guild, like a craft guild, a craft group, that's also that same idea. It carries that that notion of castration.
I mean, it's the same thing with the nice guy being the know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that's too what a lot of these old societies are really about. They're about um, kind of taking that, I guess you could call it Jungian or even whoever that Kantian idea that um, you should just do good. You just do good.
Well, what
And
the hell is good, man?
I no, I hear you, but
You
the
know,
point is,
it's a great idea. What the hell do you mean by good?
right, and it will consume you too. It's like a false chase. Like not only can you have all this trouble determining what is good, if and once you do, there'll be no end to your work.
You can't win. You can't even break even, and you're not allowed to get
Right.
up from the table.
Exactly.
Like there's something to that Gnostic observation about things, and I don't quite know how to deal with it.
Well, it's a tough nut to crack because first of all, there's two like interpretations of the demiurge, right? There's the Gnostic interpretation and then the Aristotelian interpretation, and they don't really go together, and that's always puzzled me to begin with, right? So like, how do you have a demiurge and people not even agree what the demiurge is about? Like,
Yeah, no, this is a question I ask as well.
so I mean, here we are, and I mean, I'm sure you're well versed in the Sophia story and the demiurge being in his own little cave of, or not even a cave, his air of darkness or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing in there? Like, what?
So the basic Gnostic creation story that he's referencing is that there was the one, and he made the two principles, the masculine and the feminine. But then the feminine principle, instead of being receptive, decided she was going to create, and she actually accidentally gave birth to the lion head with an intestine tail that is the demiurge, that decided to build a hyperdimensional suffering cube to pull souls into so that he could harvest loosh off of all of us. And
it sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Oh, it kind of sounds like tuning into the mainstream media, you know? It's
Yeah, it does.
like it's crazy till it ain't.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's again, it's one of these stories or ideas that at least brings you right to the edge. Like take like the Jupiter rising or the Jupiter ascending storyline, where it's the same kind of story, except we're like crops and we get turned into goo that wealthy galactic people bathe in.
Well, that's why do you think they have a giant black cube out front of so many banks?
Yeah, it's peculiar.
I mean, Saturn is the god of the harvest. And when you pay your car ticket, that's the harvest.
Right.
But you got a car out of it. So, I mean, don't be too pissed off about it.
Right.
Like
right.
it's the only game in town, you know?
It is the only game in town, right?
It's all well and good to get like really righteously angry about this shit, but all right, you got a better idea?
Right, and that's what kind of brings me back to like the stuff that I'm studying now with the ancient languages. It doesn't look like the alternative was much better.
Well, actually that's a great point. That's a great point. The fact that so the Cybelean cult is it's an abusive mother turning her kids trans.
Yes.
And back in Roman times, when in many ways we had a far more realistic view of what humans were, what like the HBO Rome series, I think, does a great job of capturing what Roman culture was actually like.
And not to mention they had the wherewithal to make it illegal. It was illegal to join the Gali cult. That was something that they brought in, and that was the end of it. I mean,
But
later
they
when
did
everything
bring it
fell
in.
apart, you know.
Like sometimes you just need to crucify a slave to make sure the other slaves do what they're supposed to. That
That's
it's an effective tactic, ain't it?
it is. It's how empire works.
Yep.
So it's hard to be the benefactor of empire and complain about it. It's like Jack Nicholson yelling at you.
You can't
You know,
handle the truth.
right? It's a tough nut to swallow. You know, it took a lot of souls leaving here for us to be here.
Let me tell you about the game Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Okay.
So this is it's an RPG set in the real world. It's a medieval RPG set in the real world.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely wild. It's basically medieval peasant simulator.
Wait, what's it called again?
Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's even the combat system is completely unique and based upon historical European martial arts.
Wow.
So the first game, you know, your village gets burned. You're the son of a blacksmith, and you know, like you got they're the bad guys. We're the good guys, and so you get to be
Right.
Mr. Hero. In the second game, you swap sides 3 times.
Wow.
And the king you're working for is actually a total piece of shit. And you're kind of just doing this to avenge your parents who keep visiting you in dreams and saying they don't need to be avenged. And how many people are you murdering? How many people fucking die because of your quest for justice? And how many shitty people, like, you ally yourself with some really like the people allied to your king as opposed to the other guy trying to steal the kingdom? Well, the other guy's competent. Whereas the people supporting your king like him because they can loot the provinces with an incompetent king.
Like warlords.
So really, really fantastic game. And it's like the message of it is that war is a messy business.
Right.
And like, I mean, you can... Welcome to Earth, man. What the fuck are we supposed to do about this?
Capital of the Milky Way.
And so, yeah, there's these dark aspects. Like, I'll tell you, one of the things that really terrifies me is that, do you know what I mean when I say cluster B?
Hold on.
Okay, so there's 3 types of personality disorders.
Okay.
Cluster A would be you and me.
Okay.
Schizoid, schizophrenic, schizotypal. It basically when you start not seeing reality in a normal way. Paranoid delusions are cluster A. You and I aren't cluster A, for the record. We're just look like cluster A because we're not normal.
Fair enough.
Cluster C is the anxious ones. These are OCD, some forms of autism would like people are like they're obsessively nervous about everything. To the point where it really hinders their ability to be a functional member of society.
Okay.
Cluster B are monsters.
Ah.
They are sociopaths, histrionics, borderlines, and narcissists.
Yeah, they run our system.
Yes, and hypothetically, a complete cluster B system would be a effective way to run the planet.
It would be, yeah.
Everything's blackmail, everything's torture. That's, I mean, if there's one thing I'm trying to do, making YouTube videos and all this stuff, it's to prevent that from taking over. Because it could take over and it could last for thousands of years.
Right. It's like a very, very difficult thing to pull out of.
Yeah, yes. Like the whole irony of narcissism. Like narcissists hate themselves. And so they construct an elaborate fantasy world. But anytime you pierce the fantasy and say, no, you're not rich. You bought that car on credit. Well, they hit a narcissistic reset. It takes about 45 seconds or so. and suddenly they're a completely different person. Actually, I'm just a struggling guy that loves America, and that's why I pay my car payment on time.
Right.
And they'll do
Well,
that infinitely, like each time until they murder you.
right. Well, I mean, they kind of have to. They're not. They don't really. The way they're built and the way the language is built is a collision course. And I think that's
I think that right there is the quote to take away from this whole live stream. The collision course between grammar and belief.
yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that we have such a, it's always through a lens darkly. I'm really struggling right now, but we've got this grammar that is, it's a fun house. Like
It is.
it's Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, I like to credit, unfortunately or fortunately, however people look at it, but I like to say this is partially Noam Chomsky's responsibility when he opened the door for recursion.
Please elaborate on that. I want to hear this.
So in the 60s, when Noam Chomsky finalized his work in linguistics, which is really what he's so famous for, he essentially said that recursion is a natural thing in language. And what he meant was that you could basically make a sentence go on forever, and that's like allowed. And that was like what opened the door for all this noise and nonsense that exists today. And there was a guy, his name was Dan McClellan, who Chomsky and his boys just ruined this guy. Because he said he had found in the, I think it was the New Zealanders language. I think it was I forget the name of them, but
Maori.
The Maori, yeah. He said he found in their language that they didn't have recursion, and recursion wasn't natural, and that we shouldn't look at it as natural. And Noam Chomsky
Wait, how?
The other guy.
Okay, pause.
Yeah.
How could you? What is recursion, and how do you not have a language with recursion? Could you expand on that, please?
Yeah. So I'm still trying to come to grasps with exactly what it means for our language. But like, if you like, let me see here.
Is all right. Is recursion how ultimately every word, like in the dictionary, you define words, but every word is ultimately like it's a giant circle of all words define other words eventually. Is that?
It's more about how we speak. It's just that we have the ability to embed phrases within phrases and clauses within clauses.
All right. So for instance, like a basic IQ test is you get people, so John was telling Bill about the time that Maria and Harry went on a trip, and on that trip they met Joseph, and that's the recursions within the story.
Yes. And that was in the 60s a really big deal, which fundamentally changed how language is taught. Now I don't know how it cascaded down into elementary school and high school, but it changed how we looked at language, it changed how we taught language, it changed how we used language. People didn't talk like this before. Like, this was like a door that was opened, floodgates.
We became out. Wait, tell me if I'm wrong, okay? But yes, it's like we just blindly used language. We got proficient at language. Oh God, I'm not explaining it right, but it's like, oh, what if instead of having a sword fight, I brought a fish, a mackerel, which is kind of what we're doing now.
It is.
I'm damn it, I'm not explaining it correctly, but I think you get what I'm saying. It's we replaced this, like we had, like there's the German style of sword fighting and there's the English style of sword fighting, and then but like really, like what is a sword? It's just a collection of atoms, and so is a mackerel.
Right. Ultimately, either or is just a tool to kill the other.
It's just a collection. Okay, wait. I think I've got it. It's just a collection of no. A sword is not just a collection of atoms. There's a whole forging process to creating a sword. To creating a sword that doesn't blunt. If you don't do it right, it gets blunt and it doesn't kill anybody. And if you try and use a scimitar the same way you use a rapier, it's not going to work properly. Like there's this whole production method, there's this like material acquisition, you have to get the good iron. If you live in Japan, you have to fold the iron so many goddamn times to make a katana because it's shitty iron. And then you have and then you also need a culture of warriors to teach these skills and pass it down. And there's this whole in World War Z. There's at the end there's the parable of the soda bottle, where after they recover from the zombie apocalypse, one of the administrators has a list of like where everything came from for the soda bottle. The parable of the pencil is the same thing. You need lumberjacks, and you need people making chainsaws, and you need graphite miners, and etc. There's all of this that goes into it. Or we could have a mackerel.
Right. Well, have you heard of the like the pineapple conundrum?
No, this sounds great.
So
tell me this existential horror.
Apparently, pineapples only grow one to a plant. And we have enough pineapples in BJ's, Costco, you name it. You can go get a pineapple whenever you want for like, what is it? $6 max, $7.
Yep.
And
anything's a dildo if you're brave enough.
Right. Yet, if you look at the metrics of the amount of water and land and people that it takes to produce all these pineapples, there's no way that it should be able to remain not only profitable, but feasible for them to keep delivering these pineapples to us.
So what the hell's going on?
I don't know. A lot of people are stumped about it. Like, where does the capacity to deliver so many pineapples to us come from when after you do the math, it's like, comparable to how many people you might be able to squeeze through a crematorium in a couple of hours.
Okay, I want to tell you a cheerful reality hack. One that we're going to deploy this coming summer on the farm here.
Okay.
It's a gravity pump. So, if you have a body of water that you want to get up a hill, but if you can take it down a hill, if you build a dam, right?
Yeah.
And at the bottom of the hill, so you make a line going from that lake down the hill to the bottom, and what you assemble is a check valve. A check valve only allows water to flow one way.
Okay.
Right? So if water is pushing, it opens and it allows the water through. If it tries to go backwards, it closes the valve.
Right.
All right, so now you got a line of water going to a check valve.
Okay.
That'll push water back up to the same level as the lake, but no further.
Right.
So then, what you do is you make a little swing valve right before that. It's a hammer pump, that's what they're called.
Okay.
So what you do, you got this line of water coming down from the pond, down to your little mechanism here, and you push down on the the swing valve, and some water squirts out, and then the water pressure closes it, and then the water hammers a little bit of water through the check valve. Tick 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 tick, and you can get that water up to about 3 times the height of the pond.
Really?
It's
What are you going to do with it up there?
Well, we're using it to water cattle.
Okay.
Because our electric one, we keep frying electric motors on the electric one.
Okay.
You lose half the water in the process, but
you're
moving water uphill under its own weight.
That's unbelievable.
It's mind-boggling.
What we can do and what we do are 2 different things.
It's a freaking sky hook, man. It's like you type 3 numbers on your phone and a fucking hook comes out of the air with a homosexual on it for you. There you go. Like it's mind-boggling what's possible.
It really is. It really is.
So we've been going for 2 hours and 11 minutes. I think it would be polite if we closed it out in another 20, unless you need to head out right away.
No. I can.
Because I'm fucking enjoying this conversation. But we got to end it at some point.
It's true. It's true. So do you want to swing back around to Cybele? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you were asking me. I think you were asking me about Saturn.
Yeah.
Did you know that Saturn, on its north pole, has a hexagon?
I've heard of this, yes, and I'm somewhat familiar with it. I don't understand how it holds it there or any of that, but
I don't think anybody knows why it's there.
Okay.
And I'm pretty certain the ancients didn't know it was there either. And the hexagon has been a symbol. Well, the hexagon, it's kind of the perfect shape, right? There's what's this guy's called? It's a YouTube channel. The guy does like stick figures. He's a school teacher. He just has like wacky things he talks about, right?
I think I know the channel you're talking about. Yeah.
CPG Gray, that's his name. He has a video called Hexagons or the Bestagons.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
They stack perfectly. That's why beehives are made out of hexagons. It's also why like a muddy plain that dries up turns into hexagons.
Okay.
They're metric circles is what they are.
Right.
And so I guess, you know what? There's an innate love of circles. The universe loves circles, but control loves hexagons.
Yes, and circles are a matter of interpretation because while the universe loves circles, just in the case of music, where you have your uneven.
Yes, the fact that the 12 notes don't perfectly align.
Right, and that's because it's not really a circle, it's a spiral.
Yes.
It's got to go down to the other octaves. Right? And so it's the same thing with anything else in nature. It's more often a spiral, or it's always a spiral, that from the angle that we get to perceive it at, we'll see a circle.
You know, this would be root 2. The golden ratio is the spiral.
Right.
Another irrational number.
Exactly.
Actually, here's a brief aside. In a material universe, in a universe where the universe was all that was, how could you possibly have irrational numbers? Like, where do you fit an irrational number in a material universe?
I'm glad you bring that up, because one of the things that I happen to really puzzle me that I wound up studying was something called Sedenians, and they're exactly what you're talking about. They're basically numbers that are not real. Um, they are for plotting points in space that don't exist, or I don't know what they work for. I'm still trying to get my hands on an application for them. But the fact, when I've been through my research, when I track these things as Sedenians, um, I track them because of they were triads. They come in groupings of three.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
really interesting.
yeah, so it's a very strange group of number set, and it's used in a lot of high-end physics, but I still can't get my hands on any exact applications. And when you try, like, there's a video on YouTube. It's funny because if you listen to the video, it will sound like they're describing the structure of a organized crime family.
Because they are.
But they're
They
actually
are.
describing Sedenians. So, and I thought it was also interesting that Sedenians are so near the term sedentary and sediment.
Wait.
And
What do they call those points of zero gravity between Earth and the Moon?
oh, I'm not sure.
I got to look this up. Because I don't think it's linguistically similar, but zero gravity points between Earth and Moon. Lagrange points.
Lagrange point.
So,
Okay.
between Earth and the Moon, there are several points of zero gravity.
Huh.
That, like, it's a natural mathematical product of the whole gravity thing. This is the sort of thing you're talking about. You're talking about like certain locuses
Yeah.
of gravity or
Existence.
anti or zero gravity.
Right.
You know what?
That's
I
bizarre.
just saw an image. So
Yeah.
basically, like the first Lagrange number one is like halfway between Earth and the Moon.
Okay.
Lagrange number two is on the opposite side of the planet,
Wow.
right? Where the Moon's gravity and the Earth's gravity perfectly cancel out.
Right. It's like settled there.
And then there's two others, and they're shifted, like they're on the north south poles of the, like if we do east west for the first two,
Yeah.
they're like
Yeah.
north south, but they're shifted towards the Moon along that
Huh.
circumference.
So the moon is very um, high on my list of suspect objects in our solar system.
They're all suspect objects as far as I'm concerned. Why does Saturn have a hexagon at the North Pole? What the hell is that?
But I'm still trying to get to the bottom of the dark side of the moon and why we never see it. That breaks me. I'm into geometry and I'm not much into math, but I'm into geometry and I can't wrap my head around it. Because the only thing I can think of is like they're trying to tell me it's just sitting there wobbling.
You know what, man? Mother by Pink Floyd. Was that on the Dark Side of the Moon album?
I think it was.
No, it was on the wall. It was on the wall.
Oh, it was on the wall. Okay, all right.
I was originally intending to bring that up as an illustration of Cybele.
Okay.
I won't let you fly, but I might let you sing. That song Mother it's about Cybele.
Yeah.
And if it had been also on the Dark Side of the Moon album, that would have been hilarious, but it was on the wall.
Yeah. So I have a whole YouTube playlist of songs that are just, in my opinion, about Cybele. And one of them I think is interesting because it's one of them's called Destination Calabria, and just the fact that Calabria is in there, I think Calabria is one of the places that has held the Cybelean cult the strongest. I think that's where you'll find it surviving most today in its raw form, not what it's become.
I'm curious. I want more information on this.
So yeah, so if you look at the way Calabria is located, okay, like I said, it's also the spot where Idomeneus was exiled to after the ends of the Iliad. And if you appreciate that Medea was his wife, that Medea would have been with him. And
so
especially
it's the toe of Italy, basically.
Yeah, the toe from like the toe to the heel is basically Calabria. It goes up a little bit north, I think, but yeah, the toe to the heel. Mostly the heel, I think, though, because the Calabrian witchcraft is a really kind of a subject that most people don't touch. But it's a peculiar subject. And I grew up with aunts that would do weird spells on Christmas Eve. They would mix wax and water and look for certain symbols in the mixture of the water and the oil. And I know this kind of Calabrian witchcraft is one of the more prominent ones, and it's evident, and like I said, because of its ties to Medea. And I think Medea settled in Calabria, and you'll find all kinds of Medea and Medina references in and around Calabria. And I just think that the Calabrian witchcraft comes directly from Medea, the original witch of Western civilization.
Now, I'm only familiar with the play,
Okay.
which the play, was it Homer? Who wrote the play?
I think it was Homer.
Yeah. Could be wrong about that though. But the play is basically, it's after the Trojan War. Medea's husband comes back with a new wife, I believe, and that he sired children by. And so in the play, Medea, I believe she kills her own children and then catches a chariot up to heaven. All I remember is that my professor thought it was the first feminist play.
Okay. So I have one of the most crooked readings of the Iliad because of what I've looked at in Linear B and Linear A.
And I've never read the damn thing. I'm a Philistine.
Okay, so the only thing I can say is, like, from what I've found, is that the whole concept of the fleece was all rolled into one ball. Like, so when he left, when Idomeneus left, there was an axe, and that was actually my very first paper I did on this axe that they found in Crete. And it's called a votive axe, and it says on the axe, in the glyph language, there's only two options you can have. It either says te madai or ida mate. Now, if it says te madai, then it sounds a lot like the Spanish word for fleeced, and it's on an axe, and that's really weird. Okay, but say it's ida mate. Well, if it's ida mate, because of the way the language worked, the Linear B language, when Ventris and Chadwick solved it, they said that the final N nasal is often not pronounced in the tablets. which means that Idamate is Idamante, who is the focus of one of Mozart's operas. It's all about Idamate, and for Mozart to know about Idamante in his time period before these tablets were even discovered. I mean, first of all,
It's wild.
that seems a little far fetched to begin with, but the fact that no one cares that this axe either says something very close to fleeced in Spanish or the name of one of Mozart's plays, and they just leave it buried in a museum.
I can't speak to Mozart, but in that book, The Secret History,
Yeah.
which I got it. I'll link it down below. It's like an intro to esoteric thinking.
Okay.
You know, I've listened to it twice. I got the audiobook version, and the first time, the guy's like, "Oh, and this famous person was a member of the secret teaching, and this guy was a member of the secret," and you're like, "Okay, everybody cool in history was part of the secret
Right.
teaching, right?"
Yeah.
But the second time listening to it, when he brought up C.S. Lewis and the creation of Narnia in The Magician's Apprentice,
Okay.
having done more reading, and also I ran in. This is really funny. I ran into an article by by somebody. I don't want to shit on them. I think their heart's in the right place. Like a really uber Christian person.
Okay. Yeah.
Shitting all over C.S. Lewis for being esoteric.
Okay.
I listened and I'm like, oh shit, yes, you're correct. That was esoteric.
Right.
It was obvious. It wasn't accidentally esoteric. This is like literally esoteric. Like this is literally what the crazy esoteric believe is that Aslan sang the universe into existence and it started off as plant life.
Yes. Yes, that matches a lot of what you see in language too. A lot of language defers to plant.
I am pretty sure that the Garden of Eden story was about when we were plants.
I can totally buy into that.
Because
totally.
Plant life doesn't need to prey on one another.
Right.
It doesn't need murder and violence like animal life does.
Right.
And now, I don't know if that means that we were plants 4,000 years ago, or if it's some sort of like really deep ancestral memory.
Well, funny thing is, are you familiar with how corn, some of the ideas about corn? Like, if you've ever read Pollan's book about corn, he talks about corn in the sense that he raises the question, is are we domesticating corn or is corn domesticating us? Because, first of all, he said we're basically walking DNA corn chips at this point. We have so much corn in our diet, it's insane. But second of all, the evolution of corn has depended on humans to keep making it better and better. And there's almost this idea, I don't know if you've ever seen the one picture of Osiris, but I always joke about Osiris. I call him like corn guy because he's like the harvest guy, and his real big hat, it really looks like a corn husk, like he could be hiding an ear of corn behind him.
How weird is it that we called wheat corn?
Yes.
Until the adventurism in the New World. And
it's bizarre.
It like that is one of the it's bizarre. Exactly.
It doesn't make sense, and whatever they're telling us.
Why don't we call it maize?
I don't understand. I don't know.
Just for anybody listening, like we used to have things like one of the big political upheavals of the 19th century, if I recall correctly, was the corn laws in Britain. I forget who was angry about what, but people were very, very angry about the corn laws. And corn meant wheat. Corn, what we call corn, maize, it's an American crop that we didn't, potatoes, maize, and no, tomatoes we had, but potatoes and maize come from North America. We did not have them until long after 1492. And yet somehow the word for like corn laws meant wheat. And now corn means maize. And you're right, there's a lot of symbology that looks a lot like maybe it's a pine tree nut.
Yeah.
But it looks a lot like corn, doesn't it?
Right. There are a lot of things that it can be conflated with.
It's very striking.
It is, especially in what is it, Roslyn Chapel. Roslyn Chapel has what appears to be corn all through it, and it was built before 1492.
Yeah.
So yeah, so corn is one of those things that falls, like, if the point is, if you to your theory that we were plants in the Garden of Eden, what possibly could corn become? We're all worried about AI and aliens and inner Earth people and interdimensional people, but what about corn?
Oh, here's another one for you. I don't know if JT told you, I'm a bit of a psychonaut.
Okay.
And I think that psilocybin mushrooms, I think that's how mushrooms talk to us.
Really?
I think that what you experience on psilocybin mushrooms is the consciousness of mushrooms. Yeah. Do you know about how mushrooms actually create communication networks for trees?
No, I haven't. I've heard fascinating things about mushrooms, but I did not know that.
Yes, there are vast, like there's mushroom internets for trees to communicate through all over the planet.
What would they talk about?
Like pests, threats, pine beetle. Okay. No, trees communicate. Trees absolutely, like they communicate on their own, but they also communicate through mycelium networks.
Okay. I see them having sex all the time.
Yeah, I know, man. It sprays their gametes all over you.
Yeah.
By the way, this is not esoteric stuff I'm talking about. This is like Scientific American stuff.
Right.
So I'm just going the next step that, like, the fruiting body of the mushroom is not the mushroom. It's just one part of the whole thing. It's not upset if you eat it.
Right.
You know, are you upset if we'll leave that alone. But I'm pretty sure that psilocybin mushrooms are how they talk to us. Which I will say, be careful, because we are not mushrooms.
Absolutely.
People that do too many mushrooms turn into losers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, like you can't, like, a good mushroom is not a good human.
No. That's not how you want to direction. It's not a good direction for a human to be more mushroom-like. Same way you don't want to be as corn-like as we are. I think right now we may be living
corn syrup American.
Corn. Yeah, we might be serving corn's consciousness more than we're serving our own.
You nailed it. I think you should talk to mushrooms. I think you should appreciate their perspective on reality. Like, they're like mushrooms. Yeah, there's the myconids in D&D, which, if you haven't heard of look these up. Like, their politics are also a giant mushroom orgy. Like, they're weird and very cool. Uh,
Okay.
they're essentially a metaphor for the fungi that we have in our actual reality. I
Okay.
think you should talk to them, listen, learn things from them, but
Yeah.
you can't be like mushrooms are constantly chill about everything.
Right.
We can't be chill about it. We got to be angry about stuff every so often.
Yeah. And the reality is, I don't think mushrooms have the same predators that we do, and I don't think that we're at this point alpha or apex predators.
We're only apex on this planet,
Right.
and even then, it's like this is a. I think this planet is contested. I think this is
Yes,
contested territory,
I think so too.
and
I think
it's
part of it is up to us.
yes, like we're the frontline soldiers on this spiritual battle.
Right.
And how it turns out it's the individual decisions of all of us. The
Yeah.
the fungi will be okay no matter what happens. They're not really fighting on our level.
Yes, exactly.
I, perfect metaphor would be 1984. That
Yeah.
the plebs don't really fucking care. All the plebs complain about is that now you have to order a pint of beer or you have to order a liter, but I only wanted a pint.
Right. Right.
Pints the plebs are left alone. The fungi are left alone in this battle. They've got some advice for us.
Right.
Anyway, you know what? Any final thoughts? Because I think this is a pretty good place to end the stream.
Yeah. No. I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on. I think we had a great discussion,
Oh
and
man, I loved it. We got to do this again.
yeah, yeah, and I'd be happy to come back again because I'm really interested in some of your ideas too, and I'm gonna be. I've only seen a couple of your videos that JT sent me, but I'm gonna be looking at some of the older ones too to see what else is back there.
That's a fantastic, man. Fantastic. I appreciate that. You know what? No further ado. Folks, thank you for listening. I hope you got something good out of it. I got a lot good out of it. So, links below. I'm going to link some of your papers. I need you to send those to me. And stay frosty out there. Live courageously. Carpe futurum, tenetraditum. This is Aurini out.